Shalom, everyone. The Gemara in Bava Kama, in the chapter we are at, Perek HaGozel, about the robber, is using many times the option of an oath, asking someone to swear in order to know whether they're saying the truth or not. And the use of an oath is something that we know is a common thing, especially in the ancient world. Not only in the Tanakh do we hear of many different people making an oath, but it was a usual thing around the area. Not only people take oath, also God in the Torah is taking an oath. And if we think about it for a little, we'll remember, Avraham is swearing to the king of Sodom, and Avimelech and Avraham are both, declaring a covenant, and they're doing it over an oath. And Eliezer, the servant of Avraham, is taking an oath to bring the right wife to Yitzchak. Yaakov and Lavan are also taking an oath to each other. Esav and Yaakov over the Bechorah, and Yosef is swearing to his father to bring his bones to Eretz Israel after he passes away, and also Yosef asked his brothers to swear to him that they will not bury him in Mitzrayim, not leave him in Mitzrayim, but take his bone up to Eretz Israel when they leave Egypt. So it's not a familiar thing, and taking an oath is an act, is something we hear, and the oath in the Tanakh, in the Torah especially, is not just to swear, but is to use the name of God in order to make the oath, in order to swear. And there's a difference between neder and shvu'ah. Neder we saw in Masechet Nedarim. Neder, it has to do with a t'nai. There's some kind of a condition, but swear, shvu'ah, is not. And there are 4 different kinds of shvu'ot, and which I'm not going to go into all 4 of them, but it is important to know that in our chapter, mostly between page 103 and 110, but not only, there's a repetition on the habit of an oath, whether in the Beit Din, an oath of a testimony, or an oath of a deposit, in different, or definitely a false oath. So I'd like to delve into that idea of the usage of God's name in order to take an oath. And I'm sharing the sources, and let's see. So the question is to swear or not to swear, to take an oath or not to take an oath. And the pasuk in Bamidbar is saying the following: if a householder make a vow to God or make an oath imposing an obligation on himself, he shall not break his pledge. Okay, in other words, we take it seriously. He must carry out all that has crossed his lips. And another pasuk in Vayikra, in Leviticus, is saying, or when a person utters an oath for bad or good purpose, and it was hidden from them, but later the person realizes guilt in any of this matter, then he should bring a sacrifice. In other words, in those 2 psukim, we hear that maybe it's better not to take an oath. But if you already used those words to make a vow to God, or to take an oath, to impose an obligation on yourself, you should act on it. Just be very sure not to break your words. And indeed, in another pasuk in Tehillim, in Perek Kuf Yutet, we hear the famous words we all know: Nishbati va'akayem lishmor mishpatei tzidkecha. I have firmly sworn to keep your just rules. In other words, there is a usage of swearing in order to keep a mitzvot, and something we saw in Masechet Nedarim already, that Rav Gidel said, from where is it derived that one may take an oath to fulfill a mitzvah. It is as it stated, I have sworn and I have confirmed it to observe your righteous ordinance. And the Gemara asks, are they not already under an oath from Mount Sinai? Okay, when we took the oath, when we accepted the covenant with God, we took an oath to keep the mitzvot. But rather, it teaches us this, it is permitted for a person to motivate themselves to keep the mitzvot, and that's why it's okay. But when we come back to the legal side of taking an oath, we're actually going to a very serious ordeal, mentioning both in Masechet Divrot, in Shemot, in Exodus 20, and in Vayikra, in Parashat Kedoshim. And the pasuk in Shemot, in Aseret Divrot, is saying, Lo tisa et Shem Hashem Elokecha lashav, you shall not swear falsely by the name of your God. For God will not clear one who swears falsely by God's name. Okay, on the surface, it doesn't sound like this is an oath that someone is swearing. Lo tisa et Shem Hashem Elokecha lashav, but it's understood to be used using the name of God in an oath or a vow. And the other pasuk in Parashat Kedoshim, Lo tishavu v'shmi lashaker, you shall not swear falsely by my name, profaning the name of your God. I am God. And the two psukim are always in the commentaries and in the midrashim are seen as complementing each other. They belong to each other. It's the same thing. When you take God's name for false, it's as if you swear falsely. And the midrash, a beautiful midrash in Tanchuma, is actually saying, in terms of those two chapters, those two parashot in the Torah, that in Leviticus speak unto the beginning of Parashat Kedoshim starts with speak unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel. Again, Daber el kol adat Yisrael, and say unto them, you shall be holy. What reason did he have to speak this parasha in an assembly, assembling all of them? And why did he not say, speak unto the children of Israel? Why to all the children of Israel, to the entire congregation, as in the rest of the parshiot? And rather than speak unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel. And because, says the Midrash, all of the 10 commandments are included within it. In other words, in Parashat Kedoshim, there are the entire 10 commandments. And that's why we have to assemble everybody. And how is it? And I just brought you 3 examples. In the commandment, it is written, I am the Lord your God, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, and I am, and here it says, I am the Lord your God. In the commandment, it is written, you shall have no other gods beside me. And here, do not turn into idols. In the commandment, it is written, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. And here in Kedoshim, it says, you shall not swear falsely by my name. In other words, very clear to the Midrash that these 2 psukim are standing one opposite to another. It's from the same topic. And lo tisa et Shem Hashem, it's as if lo tishava b'shmi lasheker, not to carry the name of God falsely, and not to swear falsely by the name of God. It's really 2 sides of the same things. And Rashi, in a commentary to Leviticus, to our pasuk in Vayikra, is asking a very interesting question. He says, and you shall not swear by my name. And why is this stated at all? Like, why to say lo tishava b'shmi lasheker? In Vayikra, we already heard in Sefer Shmot, lo tisa et shmi lashav, you should not carry my name in vain. How does the particular form of the words used here tell us more than it contained in the 3rd commandment? Since it says in Exodus, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord God in vain. I might have, says Rashi, inferred that one is not labeled except he swore by the proper name, like Yud Kei Vav Kei. and of the name of God. Whence do I know that all names that are descriptive of God's attributes are included in the prohibition? Because of the scriptures, you shall not swear by my name to a lie. In other words, Rashi is saying the repetition in Vayikra, Lo tishavu b'shmi l'shaker, you shall not swear in my name in false, is in any name, not only the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, as it says in Sefer Shmot in Exodus, but any name of God, any um, um, excuse me, any name of God, any descriptive way that we use to describe God, in that name you may not swear or use the name of God in vain. But the Ibn Ezra is opening the way to a deeper understanding, and says the Ibn Ezra, why is it that when we swear, falsely by God's name, it's profaning. It's v'chilalta Hashem Elokecha, and it's profaning the name of your God. And says the Ibn Ezra, when the scriptures read, so that thee profane the name of the God, because, as I have noted, the one who swears falsely denies God. Okay. And here I think Ibn Ezra is bringing us into the depth of the idea of a false swear or carrying the name of God in vain. Okay, using the words that describe God in vain or falsely, it as if denying God. And the idea that we have a way of saying the name of God is something very precious. And if we take it for granted or belittle it, then it becomes an absolute sin, as if we deny God. The Rambam in Mishneh Torah, in the list of mitzvot lo taseh, mitzvot of what not to do, is mentioning the different ways of shvuah, not to violate an oath. That's one thing. Not to take an oath in vain. It's the second thing, and not to profane the name of the Holy One, blessed be it, is the third not to do mitzvah that has to do with the name of God, with any oath or swear with the name of God. And that just to show us how serious this is, the three different ways of not respecting God through not respecting the name of God. And the Sefer Chinuch has beautiful explanation of the root of the two sides of the mitzvah of not to swear for vain, falsely, and not to carry the name of God falsely. And he says the following: to not swear in vain, that we not swear pointlessly, as it is stated. It is from the root of this commandment, that it is for people to know and fix in their souls and strengthen the faith in their hearts about God. Blessed be He, who is who is in the heaven above and exists forever, that there is nothing else like His existence, and it is fitting and obligatory upon us, when we mention His great name upon our actions and upon our words, to mention it with fear, with awe, with trembling, and with perspiration, and not like those that joke and speak about something light, such as things that exist and perish and do not continue to exist, like us people. And the other thing of the lowly world, and the other things of the lowly world. Hence, it is fitting, in order to fix this matter in our hearts, and that His awe should be in front of us, to give us life and merit. We are obligated in this commandment, that we not mention His holy name pointlessly, and that one who is lenient and transgresses it is punished with lashes. I think that one of the things that Sefer HaChinuch is saying here is that God gave us the ability to speak. And speaking, talking, using language is like God created the world with words. And us having Tselem Elokim, the image of God, is part of it is our ability to use words. So we should use words to the positive, to create good things. But when we use the name of God in vain or falsely, it's we are betraying that attribute, that godly attribute that we have to create with words, to be positive with words. And that's why it's so it's such a serious transgression. And to the other mitzvah lo ta'aseh of not to swear in God's name in vain, says Sefer HaChinuch, and from this root itself is the matter of a false oath, שבועת שקר, meaning to say, when he swears to fulfill something and does not fulfill it, this is called an oath of speech about which another separate commandment comes in the order of Kedushim Tihiyu, as it is stated, and you shall not swear falsely by my name. As one who swears by the great name of God to say something was, and yet he knows that there is falsehood in his mouth, behold, he is acting lightly with the oath, with the O of God, as it is to say, in his heart, he is not true. And here we hear for the first time the word true, okay? The other side or the opposite of a lie is the truth. Not getting used to using an oath or swear and use the name of God for vain or in a false way is training yourself to be truthful, to always say the truth and not to hide behind any big words, especially not God's name, and let his lips be silent. And so the one who swears to do something and afterwards does not do it is behold, does not do it, it is behold also among the rebels against light and the deniers of truth. And that's another word. In other words, we have in one side, we have falsehood and we have a lie. And in the other side, we have truth and light. God used his words to in truth and in light. And if we use God's name, the opposite of truth and light, then we are betraying God and betraying Tselem Elokim, the image of God that we have in us. As the understanding of swore is according to my opinion, and then here Sefer Chinuch will tell us what he thinks a swear is, and he says that he conclude in his heart and says with his mouth to fulfill that thing that he swore about, and that he will never change it, just as God, may he be blessed, exists and does not change forever and ever. And that is why the expression sworn nishba always come in the passive, meaning to say that he is acted upon by his words to make it exist. Just like he said about his existence, blessed be he. Using our words correctly, swearing to do something and do it, making us to a level of our to look like the level of our Creator. Like he said words and it happened, and he's truthful, and so do we need to try to be like God. And I wanna end with a beautiful midrash in the Sifra that says, like, why is it that if we lie, if we give a false oath, we profane the name of God. And says the Sifra, okay, when we profane the name of God, we are hereby taught that a vain oath is a profanation of the name. Violently, another way of understanding it, says the Midrash in the Sifra, and you profane, the word in Hebrew, vechilalta, you thereby become profane and vulnerable to attack to animals and beasts. And I want to suggest another explanation in the text from the Hebrew. You become as you leave, you forget, you put away the holiness, that thing which is above and makes you different from the other animals. Because we are the same. The only thing which is different is that we have Tzelem Elokim. We were created in the image of God. So if we profane the name of God and take it lightly, that means that we don't really view that godly thing that we have in us as an important, as valuable thing. And that's what, and when we do that, we become like an animal and a beast without the uniqueness of a human spirit, of a neshama. And Yirmiyahu, and we'll end with the prophet Yirmiyahu. Yirmiyahu says in a beautiful pasuk, "Venishbata chai Hashem." Okay, like the swear is always coming with the name of God, and swear as God lives in sincerity, justice, and righteousness. And when you make a swear, do it with sincerity, justice, and righteousness. Nay, and then says the Navi, nations shall bless themselves by you and praise themselves by you. In other words, the prophet Jeremiah is saying, you know, to be a nation, to use to be a nation, to train to be a nation that never swears in vain, never carries the name of God in vain, and always have that name of God in front of us, and that leading us to live in truth, sincerity, justice, and righteousness, that will cause the rest of the world to look at us and to say, yes, we want to bless like them. We want to live lives like them in the way that they keep the name of the creator in front of them and carrying it with respect. And the Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah, and we're not going to read it, but the Midrash is really beautiful, and he's saying God is telling people who wants to swear and to take an oath, really, you want to do it? You can only do it if your attributes as human beings are going to be like the three great God fearing people, Abraham, let me find this for you, Abraham, Joseph, and Job. In other words, the Midrash in Bamidbar Rabbah is saying, okay, you want to swear? You want to take an oath with the name of God? That's fine. But first check to see that your attribute as high as those of Abraham, Eov, and Yosef. But Rashi is quoting that Midrash without the names. And he's saying, well, you know what? Everyone can use the name of God in an oath, but here the pasuk on Yirmiyahu is looking for our sincerity, and you will swear as the Lord lives in truth. When you swear by my name, you will swear in truth, not as now that is written concerning you. And if they say, as the Lord lives, surely they swear falsely. In other words, what Rashi is saying, you want to use my name? Use it in truth, not like the other people in the rest of the book of Jeremiah, is that they're using the name of God falsely. Like each and every one of us can use the name of God after we really make sure and we work on our attributes and work on our inner thinking and our deeper understanding of what it means to be a human being that was created in the name of God, in the image of God. And then if it's clear and if it's understood, you can use my name and it will be not in vain. It's going to be not falsely. Otherwise, you do it and you get punished. And I hope this is just a very, very quick peek on the idea of swearing and of taking an oath, and hopefully we'll be able to always say, I have firmly sworn to keep your just rules. נשבעתי ואקיימה לשמור משפטי צדקך.